in this video, we are going to look at Excel functions. So an Excel function is a predefined computation that simplifies creating a formula that can help you perform a complex calculation. In Excel, we have more than 400 functions, which can be organized into about 14 categories. And in this chapter, we're going to look at some of the primary function categories, which will be date and time, financial, get my pen here, so date and time, financial, logical, lookup and reference, we'll look at math and trig, and we'll look at also stats, statistical category, okay? We're also going to look at syntax. Okay, so when using functions, you must use the correct syntax. So syntax is the rules that dictate the structure and components required to perform the necessary calculation. So you always start a function with an equal sign, followed by the function name, and then its arguments in parentheses, or I call them brackets. Okay, so what's an argument? Functions arguments specify the inputs, such as you might need to reference cells or values or arithmetic expressions that are required to complete the operation. So in some cases, a function requires multiple arguments, and these arguments would be separated by commas. Okay, so to insert a function by typing, first you have to type the equal sign in, then you begin typing the function name. So the formula autocomplete displays a list of functions and define names that match letters as you type formula. For example, if you type equals and then you start typing SU, the formula autocomplete is going to display a list of functions and names that starts with SU. So let's go check that out here. Okay, so if I go equals, right, this is the correct syntax. When you begin a function, you always type equal in, and then you can start typing in if you know the name of the function that you want. So you go SU, okay, so I'm going to type in sum, and then now I can see all the other functions that also start with SU, like substitute, subtotal, sum. So at this point, I can go click down to sum, or I can just finish typing. Okay, I'm going to click down to sum, right? And then double click in that, so you have the open parentheses here. Okay, and then here I have in bold number 1. Okay, so you need like a range of numbers, an array of numbers that you want to calculate the sum of. And then you can also separate it or add a second argument if there's another range of numbers that you also want the sum of. You can separate that by a comma, but now I'm just going to select, okay, so I want the sum of this, okay, and I'm going to close the parentheses, there we go, and there we have it. It is in percentage for whatever reason, so I can go here and I'm going to go into format cells, and then I'm going to change the number and not make it percentage. There we go. So you shouldn't need to do that. I don't think yours would be in percentage. Maybe I was using this worksheet before doing something else. All right, so there we have it. This adds up all the numbers in that range there. Okay, so this would be the argument. The syntax is the equals sum, which is the function name, and then the parentheses, and then the range here. The argument here. This is the argument. Okay, that's what you have to enter. All right, so back to the PowerPoint here. And okay, so when you're inserting a function, you can also use the insert function dialog box to search for a function, select a function category, and then select the function from the list. This is useful if you want to browse the list of functions, especially if you're not sure of the function that you want. Okay, so you can click insert function, which is between the name box and the formula bar, or insert function from the function library. So let's go take a look at those two options. Okay, so just now I just typed in sum, but you can actually go up here okay, to insert function right there. Do you see that? Okay, so insert function. And then you can type in, okay, sum. There we go. And then you have sum. And you can type it in here and you go, okay. And now here we have, the range that you can type in if you know, or of course you know, but if you just want to type in manually, the range here, then you can just type in, G3 to G7. Okay, G3 colon, here, G3 colon, and then G7. You can type that in. It shows you what those values are. Or you can just, if you don't want to do that, you find that tedious, you can just select here like that. And while you're selecting, the dialog box sort of gets smaller, and then when you're done selecting, it expands again. Okay? You can also collapse this and then, select. Oh, I kind of double select it and then expand it again. All right. But you only need to do that because if it's covering, the range. Like say if your dialog box is here, now you can't go select your range here. Then you can close it and then do that. And to expand it, you click on that again. And there you go. And then you can say okay. Or if there's another, this is optional. You don't have to. So if you also want to add this here, okay, and then you can do so and go okay. So now it's tallying up, G3 to G7 and also E3 to E7 there, and it goes okay, and there you have it. And for some reason it's still percentage, so I'm just gonna change that to just regular numbers, and there you have it. Okay. Next, let's go take a look at function arguments dialog box. We just looked at that. So the function arguments dialog box opens up so you can enter the arguments for that specific function. So like I said, the argument names in bold are required. You have to enter those arguments, but the ones that are not bolded are optional. If you want to add them for extra information to kind of tailor that function, the outcome, then you can add it, but you don't need to. Okay, and then this talks about, typing in the cell references or clicking and selecting on the spreadsheet itself, which I just showed you how to do. So one thing I haven't showed, I forgot to show you, was the other way to insert a function. So I'm just going to go here and go, so I'm going to click in the cell here, G11, then I'm going to go to formulas, and over here, you can insert function here as well, and that also brings it up. You also have some functions that are already here. So if it's something like sum, you can just go right here and click it, and you can see that's average, count numbers, max, min, and so on. We'll take a look at those in following slides. Okay, and yeah, so just to recap, insert function here, this button here, that's the same thing as this button here. Okay, brings up the same dialog box. All right. Okay, so sometimes you're going to end up with this number sign and then name, which when you see that, okay, after you enter a function and this displays in the cell, it's probably because you mistyped the function name. So if I went here and then I went equals, I typed in Sam, and then this is a typo, and then it's going to be like name. I don't understand, what is that? Okay, so if you see that, it means that you probably mistyped the function name. So to avoid this problem, select the function name from the formula autocomplete list as you type the function name. So maybe there are some things that are, obviously you're not going to, misspell name, but there are some things that you might misspell, like maybe substitute, maybe use substitute, maybe you forgot to add a T at the end. That's more likely that you would misspell something like that. So to avoid things like that, just as this autocomplete is showing up, just click on it. Don't bother trying to type it all out yourself. You don't get extra points for it. So yeah, so make sure you use the autocomplete